What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we are here with the media star, Ryan Knight. Good morning, media star.
Good day, good day. See, star in the making. I'm still under tutelage of Dr. Vibe, but for those that don't know who Ryan Knight is yet, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage they're in and then help them grow their companies exponentially and help them create the blueprint to do that. I'm also an entrepreneur. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we do mobile waterless car cleaning, go to people's houses, their offices, clean their cars on the spot without using water and using our eco-friendly plant-based cleaning supplies. And of course, for the last few weeks, I've been saying we are hiring. So this month is the push for finishing our hiring and getting ready for the spring season. Although I'm looking at the forecast and Sunday looks like some summer weather. I think it was like 16. I saw
like 16 degrees Celsius.
That's crazy.
Well, at least it'll be something nice to look at after in a minute. We'll get in just a second. Want to say that this conversation is being sponsored by the Dr. Vibe Show and UNP Push Coalition, holding a special conversation this Sunday, March 6th, Black Mental Health Care, a national conversation. And we have a number of wonderful friends who are going to come on and talk about Black mental health. Leslie McEwen, who's been practicing in this field for over 30 years. Also, Paul Bailey from the Black Health Alliance, Helen Ofuso, and if I get the name wrong, it's my head, not my heart, and other great people that are going to be talking about Black mental health. And actually, like people in the comments, if you're watching live, do you know right now it's Black Mental Health Week? Wonder to know if you even know.
Is it start already or is it the 7th?
Yeah, March 1st to March 7th.
Oh, okay.
It's on right 7th. In the middle right now. So if you are around on Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m., wherever you're watching this, you can watch this conversation. And it's interesting, the person who's organizing this told me that I was one of the first, if not the first, at least online, to have a national conversation about Black mental health care in the Canadian space a few years ago. And I said, I don't know, but they're saying I am or was. So, and I know that Ryan's organization is also offering mental health care services also.
Right, through our Ubuntu platform. So it's a mini metaverse that allows people to connect in, to get away from the stress, but also you can, get partnered up with a counselor. So if you do want to talk to somebody, that's available. Or if you just want to get away, there's like a yoga space that is underwater, under the baobab tree that has like animals walking around. It's a pretty awesome VR experience. So definitely check it out. I think on our website there should be a link to the next session, but if not, we'll definitely send that out to everybody.
Impressive. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very
get
nice.
Your feedback when you jump in.
Yeah, and you know what? I haven't registered, and I got to do that. Like this week has just been, as we say, mashup. It's been a mashup week this week.
And one thing too, if you do sign up, you do get a free VR headset. So if you're able to pick it up at our office, it's free. If you need us to ship it, then you just pay the shipping costs. So you do get a headset.
Absolutely. So this is a Freestyle Friday for everybody, and if there's any topics you're wanting us to freestyle about, we would love to put it out there. Ryan, anything on your well, one of the things I'm sure that's on a lot of people's minds, gas prices.
Like my chest just clenches.
Oh
And
no.
I drive a Prius, so I don't really watch the gas prices as much anymore, but it just keeps creeping up. And I remember the days when, because I used to be I guess a gas jockey for Esso, so I'd be there at the full serve pumping gas. And I always
Wow.
remember the day a lady came up to me and she's like, "What's going on with the gas prices? I can't believe it's at 66." And now, and then so when I was like, "Nah, it'll never get past $1. $1, everybody will just go crazy. Past $1, so said, so done." And now this is getting into that $2 a liter range. Like
It's
I
gonna
think
get there.
it's saying like 170 around now. So
Yep.
I don't know, man. At one point, it becomes like an expense that's similar to food, where you're like, when food prices get over a certain amount, you start making decisions about what you're going to spend money on. And gas, you never want your gas to be one of those decisions where you're like, can I even fill up my car today, or should I go get food? Like that to me is going to be really detrimental to people, especially if you're going week to week with your expenses.
Oh, interesting. Christopher Lawrence says here, "Holy smoke! I was at the pump yesterday and I did my disbelief dance."
It's unbelievable.
Well, Christopher, if you went yesterday, next
Don't
time you
go
go,
check.
you're gonna go do another. You're gonna do another dance because it went in the Toronto area went up 8 cents a liter overnight.
Wow.
So in 2 days, it's gone up 14 cents a liter. For those who are watching the US, that's about 50 cents a gallon. It went up in
one shot
in like 24 to 36 hours.
Yes. And for those keeping track of the metric system, a gallon is about 4 liters. I think it's 4.4 liters.
4.4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see how this, well, especially how it's going to impact Black Canadians.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. If you're in survival mode and working check to check, that check now is getting a bigger chunk taken out of it. You have to really start looking at maybe public transportation, parking that car, all these decisions start going through your head that you weren't making at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, you kind of have a sense of what you're going to spend on your car maintenance and gas. But when it just keeps creeping up, it starts to affect a lot of the things that you were normally doing.
It's just crazy. And I think that, yeah, it is just, it is interesting. When I was younger, my dad, every day he'd come home, 9 times out of 10, the first thing he would do was put on his pajamas. I said, "Dad, like it's 5 o'clock at night. Why are you putting on your pajamas?" He says, "Look, man," says, "if me have to go back out, I have to spend money." And I sort of laughed at, because even when he's in his house, he's spending money. But every time you go out of your house now, you got to be, well, for most of us, we got to be really intentional.
Absolutely. And that thing with being intentional is really key, because if you just let the world, I guess, dictate to you, where you're not really keeping track of, especially your budget, you're not keeping track of like what you're going to be doing with your time. You talk a lot about not managing your time, but your energy. But time is really important. If you just walk out into the world and are trying to, I almost call it being on defense. You're just seeing what's attacking. But when you're purposeful and you're going out and okay, I need to go XYZ. I was talking to a friend of mine. He said, now when I leave the house, it's like I have to do everything one shot. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to Costco. I'm going to go pick up the
I've always been
everything
like that.
planned. And so it's
for
one
many years,
trip. You just come home and park.
Absolutely. Look, I am a lot of a homebody these days, because like it's just like, oh, you'll be surprised. I did the unthinkable yesterday.
Tell me about it. You came past the Young Street?
Yes.
Where
yeah. How did you guess?
Hey, unthinkable, there's only a couple things.
Guess exactly where I went to. What city?
Mississauga?
No, your stomping ground.
You're in Brampton? I didn't even text. What was happening?
I was in and out.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't do Airbnb in Brampton. No. I was in the area of Dixie and Mayfield.
Nice.
Yeah,
just picking up something,
pick
or
up
like
and gone, pick up and gone. The drive out there, no problem. The drive back, the high 410 was there's construction going on around there, so I ended up taking Dixie down to was it Courtney Park?
The 401 or the jump back on?
Or Bourverde or something to miss the construction and came back on. But yes, I said, wow. I said, oh my goodness. Good. So Christopher's saying, I think I'm going to buy a tricycle and bicycle helmet today. I wouldn't be surprised if more people could start, especially during the summertime. But of course, the prices for those things will go up too.
True, but it's interesting buying like a bike. I remember, and this was decades ago, when again gas prices started creeping up, and you start really considering, hey, getting a moped or getting a motorcycle.
How many people remember when the moped was released or launched? Wow, you're dating yourself. But you folks, you got to date yourself. Okay. So yeah, there's for some reason it seems to be a transmission problem on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I didn't see it pop up.
Yeah, on my end for some reason it's saying so. Because Marlon Stevens saying, "Are you guys on?" We for some reason it says we're not. LinkedIn like no one.
Gotcha.
This is a likely a known issue. Your work. They see this is likely a known issue with LinkedIn. They're working on it, trying to no, we're not going to end the broadcast and create a new one. Sorry.
Yeah, jump onto Facebook. We're on Facebook.
And yeah, we're Facebook, and you're also on you go to my YouTube or Facebook pages. We're on. I'm getting a little bit of echoing on your end.
Yeah.
Charmaine is saying the ripple of gas prices will also be an issue. Well, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past, but I'll mention it all the time. People just think the effect of gas prices is just on driving your car. Mm-hmm. It affects everything.
Well, when you think of even just oil in general, the amount of things that are used with petroleum, like to make just plastic from, you really can't touch much things without touching oil. And so as gas prices start going up, petroleum prices start going up, like you said, the everything around us is going to start creeping up. So now food prices are already creeping up.
Well, they were
get it to us.
They are well, that they were already going up.
Exactly.
Now it's even just piling, because again, and Ryan uses the perfect example of food prices. Okay, the food you buy at the store, how does it get there?
Right.
Truck.
Like that whole supply chain.
Right. What does a truck use to get there? Gas.
Right.
That truck is probably getting food from a central hub or depot. How does the food get to the depot? By truck.
Right.
A lot of times it's either shipped in or it's brought in by airplane from foreign countries or different places. Then it goes to the hub. Then the truck picks it up from the truck and delivers it to the end source. So every time, so you have to look at it. Every time it passes someone's hands or a different part of the distribution chain, it increases the price. It increases the price.
And that's where it's so important to know where your food is coming from. There's a big push for like local, getting food locally.
Your own.
Hey, I'm sure people would love that concept, but it does take, you have to be really purposeful about growing your own food.
Well,
creating those community gardens would be interesting.
I have spoke to one or two people in the last little while that are actively trying to see if they can get enough funding to start a grow your own space in GTA.
Oh, okay. Well, like a community space? Or in your like backyard kind of thing?
No, they're like a community space. I'm getting feedback from your end.
Yeah, because I'd have to be mute. Hold on.
No, it's okay. That's better.
Okay.
No, it's still there. Well, yeah, but yeah, I think, and again, where are you getting? All right, good to Marlon is on. Good. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at the LinkedIn. Oh, well, LinkedIn we can't control. So sorry, LinkedIn people, if we didn't get you today. Come on other places though.
Right, because it did create the event for it, but it didn't link in.
Well, we broadcast anyways. We find a way. So yeah, the gas prices, I think, and that's not going to end because I listen a lot. I keep my ears glued to what's going on in the financial markets because it does
Mhm.
impact me, even though people don't think what's going on Bay Street or Wall Street doesn't impact. And I was listening to an analyst yesterday saying that they could realistically, especially what's going on in the Ukraine and all the ripple effect of that, we can see easily. He says he wouldn't be surprised to see $175 a barrel for oil in the near future.
Well, do you know what it's around right now?
Good question. Good question. You know what? We'll find out because we have Google is our friend, or search engines are our friend. But, and a lot of people don't look into it for a barrel. Yeah, but it's not going to go down, especially with what's going on in the world today or these days.
Right. The conflict doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. And
No, and last night it took a whole other level that the Russians were bombed the nuclear plant.
right, and it caught on fire and they're struggling to get the fire out.
Yeah,
I heard they were running out of the iodine pill, or one of those pills that you take because people are nervous about a nuclear attack, or just it's getting unmanageable.
and the Russians aren't going to stop, because if people realize they're just slowly but surely, it's an attrition, right? Because they're only food access only so long,
right?
So they're just slowly. If Russia really wanted, they could bomb them and just destroy if they really wanted to, but they're doing it slowly but surely, methodically. Doing it. Now we got some comments here, as always. Mr. McMillan, good morning, gentlemen. It isn't too difficult to start planting some basics: tomatoes, green veg, some fruit, instead of using May 24 weekend to plant flowers and plant vegetables. Absolutely. You can do it indoors too if you're in a cold. Marlon saying gas pricing is exacerbated by the current turmoil. I agree with that. Yes and no, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of gas and oil in the world.
There is, but this is where, when it's controlled by pockets of people and organizations, it's really on their direction.
It's on their dime, for lack of a better word. It's on their dime. Interesting enough, too, the three largest oil producers in the world: United States, Saudi Arabia, and Russia.
Okay.
Have the three as either producers or largest oil reserves in the world: U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Russia. So, yes, it may be good to cut that off. A lot of countries cutting off oil exports from Russia. Oh, where are they going to get it? And and the pricing will go up also. That, I don't know. it's and and especially the impact on, or major right now, to a Black Canadian audience. Actually, it's a good question. What impact has increased prices had on Black Canadians? How are you managing? What have you had to change, if anything?
Well, one thing, when we're talking about the conflict, I read an interesting article around when we're pointing out how Africans and Indians are being treated unfairly in Ukraine. People push back with, "Oh, this isn't the time to be talking about racism. There's a war going on." And the article was point blank saying, what was the article title? No, I need to find the title. Hold on, I'm going to find the title.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story to say how Black people are being treated during this conflict.
Yes.
And now here's the question. Does the Ukraine and or Poland, these countries, have the right to say, we're going to take people who look like us first? Because, I've heard some people say, well, these Black people coming from other countries, we got to prioritize our people first. So the question would be, if the roles were reversed, would Black people be the same? Would they? How how should that be handled? Should they treat each and everyone the same who are exiting the country of Ukraine, or should they prioritize the people who are inhabitants who have grown up there first, Ukrainians, and then second, people who are coming from other countries? What are everyone's thoughts?
Oh, why now is always a good time to talk about race, no matter what is happening. Like the excuse that, oh, because a war is happening, that means that we just ignore anti-Black racism, anti-Indian racism. Like, no, these are the things that we have to pay attention to, because to me, it's showing true colors. Like when a person gets down to their bare instincts, they're gonna protect their own first. And
absolutely. So understood.
It shows like what the pecking order is in society. And this is just truth. You can't ignore it and be like, oh, just because of circumstances. Like, no. If we're talking about equality and equity, it wouldn't matter the circumstances. Those principles would still come through. But if the principles change, then that means everything that we're doing is conditional. So we always have to be watching what we say. We always have to be watching what we do, because at any moment, any progress that we've made with anti-Black racism can be taken away, because we're not at that level in society yet. We're always going to be an underclass. And that's something that we really have to pay attention to. Even as we see a lot of programs being launched here in Canada, there's a lot of Black-focused programs, but whose problem is the program really solving? If the program is helping, let's say, the banks more than it's actually having a positive impact in the Black community, we have to look at how it's structured. We can't just take things at face value and say, oh, look how much money that they've thrown to XYZ. For example, they put $10 million into affordable housing out of
let's talk about that. We'll get to that, and this is a very good segue. So let's there's some comments here. Marlon's saying it's not supply and demand, it's also much more complicated. Okay, about the whole thing. Now, the Mill Group is correct. The largest oil reserves are in Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Iraq, and Iran. U.S. is number 10. I stand corrected.
Right. Thank you for that.
Now, based on what you just said, though, Marlon says a good point. Exactly. That's why we have to often take care of each other first.
Right.
And
this is where every time I see the Black community working towards something that's for the Black community only, we always get derailed. We always get, I don't want to say tricked.
My three.
No, but hold on, I'm not talking even about that. I'm talking about the language changes from Black focus to multicultural. Then it changes from Black focus to BIPOC. There's always a dilution of what we do.
You're causing a lot of trouble today. I guess because the suit and tie is on. So I'm
just a humble observer.
You're not saying, you're just saying?
I'm just a humble observer.
So interesting a number of points. And this is why we love when we have a chance to do Freestyle Friday, because things just come up. So what are your thoughts about initiatives that are BIPOC instead of Black only?
I have two minds of it. One mind is, but BIPOC will get it done faster and possibly with more resources. So if something is put forward as BIPOC, because you've now expanded the scope, typically it happens quicker, it'll get approved faster, and the amount of dollars would be improved or increased. When it's Black focused, it's typically, there's more friction. I'll use an example. The $10 million announcement for the housing, in the comments, so for the affordable housing that Black North Initiative and Dream Legacy is working on. So on the government website, when they announced it, the comments from people in Canada, Canadian citizens, why does there have to be a Black focused program? Everybody in Canada is struggling with housing or affordable housing, on and on and on and on, attacking this Black program. When the Indigenous program, there was a BIPOC, again, affordable housing, they've created programs with CMHC. I did not see that same friction. So that's where BIPOC and the language that becomes used really dilutes, I would say, the Black focus. But then the impact to the Black community also gets diluted, because when you say BIPOC, and now we're talking about Indigenous, people of color, that spectrum of people of color, like, it can include people that aren't struggling, but they can say, hey, I'm a person of color, this program is for me. So now what real impact does it have on the Black community? So I'll say, if you want to actually go further, I see people using BIPOC. If we're serious about empowering the Black community, it has to say Black specifically.
So here we go, Freestyle Friday. We got a topic we're landing on and drilling deep on because people are commenting. Macmillan Group, you're on point, Ryan. Is the dilution deliberate? Is it important? It is important for us to be cognizant of that. Also, well, please, go ahead.
Yeah, just before, because that comment is important, because now I would say this whole movement that happened after George Floyd, it started purely Black focused. It was like, listen, this is happening to Black people. Everybody was in the streets protesting around the world. People were protesting about this Black issue. Suddenly, the language changed to BIPOC, and I don't know when, but it wasn't from the Black community. There was no push to say we need to include people of color. So I saw the media start to use BIPOC as, it's almost like an easier way to talk about the issues. Like, oh yeah, we're not just talking about Black, but we're talking about BIPOC. So I would say it's deliberate. It's a way for the media not to focus in on one community, even though the entire topic.
Is it just the media alone, though? Would we also say maybe corporate Canada, maybe
government? They dictate the language, though, because you'll be talking to them, and I've sent press releases to the media and say, like, we're doing this thing for Black people, and then during the interview, they use BIPOC, and I'm like, wait, this isn't a BIPOC program. This is specifically for Black. So and I even use the term Black instead of saying like African and Caribbean, because it just flows easier in conversation. And I feel like that's what media does. They use BIPOC instead of Black because
some media, not this media, but a lot of media. Thank you.
That's why it's easier to say BIPOC and not get friction. That's what I'm talking about. When you talk about specifically the Black community, there's always friction. So it's very difficult at every step of the way. All progress that the Black community has made, it's always faced friction. It's always faced barriers or people that don't want to see. You start hearing, oh, that's reverse racism. You start hearing all lives matter. I always think, imagine the Ukraine war is happening and somebody is posting all countries matter. Why are we talking about Ukraine? All countries. It just sounds so ridiculous that I'm hoping people would see when they say that for Black issues, like, oh, all lives matter. I hope they could use that analogy, because when there's a specific war happening and the Black community does feel like we've been oppressed and a war has been waged on us for reasons that are so various, it's hard to go into all of them now. When you say all lives matter, it's so disrespectful to the actual damage that has been done and is continuing to be done. And the government's acknowledged as a UN decade of African descent because of it.
Speaking of which, and we'll just a little segue. Was it a post I saw on Instagram yesterday? Rosemary Toronto Community Benefits. What's her last name? Powell. She was quoted, or apparently this is what I got to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. Got to find my tablet. That apparently now the Ontario government has now backed away from diversity in hiring for the projects. I gotta find my
for labor and construction projects.
Yeah, they've backed away from that.
And Rosemary has been fighting the community benefits fight for close to a decade now.
Yeah.
And that article that I saw, it's I'm curious who in the government's office thought this was a good idea. Because what it shows is that the lobbyists of the construction companies that don't want these CBAs intact, because again, it causes friction. They just want a smooth path to building. They don't want to have to deal with the local community. And at worst, they don't want to deal with the Black community when we're saying we want our fair share. When you're building in our communities, it worked. Like the construction companies got what they wanted against all odds of all the work that the local community, TCBN, the Toronto Community Benefits Network, and all of their partners.
And just an interesting quick segue there. And I was going to say at the beginning, but this is Women's History Month. And we're Ryan, if you can, we should reach out to Rosemary and get her on.
Yes, that actually is a great idea, because we need to be talked about.
We need to get her on. So you know everybody, I've been told. So if you could put on your digital notepad or your write down notepad, or as I do these days, put it in your book.
Do you already have a guest for Sunday?
Oh yeah, Sunday's booked up. Yeah, Sunday's the National Health Conversation. Believe it or not, the Sundays are basically booked for a little while, but if we could maybe get her for next Friday.
I'll ask
her. Get her for next Friday, because when I read that story, I was disappointed but not surprised.
Not surprised. There was a big campaign that TCBN was doing, feels like last year or the year before, getting as many signatures to fight against the construction company. Again, lobbyists trying to, there's like $187 billion of infrastructure that they don't want CBAs included in. They just want these procurement to be open, and just like the old guard, they can just apply and not have to deal with the community at all, and they just do what they want to do. And TCBA, I feel like they won that battle. And now the Ontario government, because that was federal, and now the Ontario government is now totally
that's another thing she mentioned. So the two governments are saying two different things.
Yes. And you would think, hey man, we're going into election year for provincial. This to me, even not just the Black community, if you look across Eglinton, all those communities that it impacts, I think there's like at least 12 primary areas. If you look at Finch LRT, that's going all across those neighborhoods. This article is saying all that construction that's happening through our community, they don't have to care about the local population. And if that doesn't ring an alarm for anybody that lives in those areas, and anybody that lives anywhere in the GTA, anywhere in Ontario, that they can decide to do projects. And remember, I think it's the 413 or the 418 highway that's getting a lot of friction for where they want to travel through Toronto and out west. That construction project, without these CBAs and local community input, you're going to be completely ignored. This is the they pretty much just sealed that you have no voice. And so I don't know what else to say to the community, where if you have no voice with these big projects, exactly what's happening to Randy's and across Eglinton can happen anywhere in Ontario right now.
So just another quick thing for people who may or may not know, Randy's long establishment, patio establishment in what they call Little Jamaica.
40 plus years.
40 plus amounts that they're ending their business because supply chain and etc. Now I've heard rumors someone may be interested in buying it. But my question is, does Randy's own that building? Do you know?
I was told they own a building. I don't know. I think they have two buildings that they work out of. Their manufacturing and the, I guess, retail store. So it's either they own both or the manufacturing building. But I was told that their landlord sold the building that they're in to developers.
Of course.
So I don't think they own the Eglinton and Oakwood building. But I could be wrong. I'd have to check. But I'm hoping somebody is talking with the owners of Randy's, because they're seeing the outpouring of support from the community. They have a really strong brand. And nobody up to this point had talked to them about licensing their brand or franchising. If they already have a manufacturing location, the owners have to shift to logistics and just dispatching and cooking. And there could be Randy's all across Toronto, even all across Canada.
Yeah. So It's a whole other conversation. A lot of times we talk about different aspects of it that
Mm.
we really have to. There's a many years ago on Princeton album called "We Have to Pay Attention to the Sign of the Times."
True.
Sometimes let's go back to comments. McMillan Group goes, please define BIPOC for me so I can understand where Black folk fit in the grand scheme of things. Well, it's Black, Indigenous, people of
they put
color.
it at the
That's what,
beginning. It's like
yeah,
Black, Indigenous, and people of color, but
Yeah, so we're
it's too
all
diluted. It's just
right.
who's not
And
included in that.
yeah, black people tend to put whites above other blacks, even themselves. We need to really look at ourselves. There's a deep self-hate in us stemming from slavery in part. That's even why, more importantly, Black mental health care is important. Because as I say again, my three: trauma, repetition, and symbolism. And probably one of the biggest things is the first one, the trauma, especially the self-trauma. So
Absolutely.
we need to. Angie says, but in BIPOC, Black people usually only get left out. Yeah, because we're not number one. We're of.
And a big piece that at the symposium Dr. George Fraser talked about is the community is not organized. So even though the language changes to BIPOC, if we were organized, we would still be able to function in that system and get what we need. But then when other communities get into the mix that are more organized, you see application or procurement comes out and people of color now are able to put in those applications because they're organized. So it was for BIPOC, but the Black community didn't get their application in because we're still talking about who's best to lead the charge in the Black community, where the people of color and a gentleman that I know runs the Indo Chamber of Commerce, their stuff is in. It's like there's no discussion. There's like, that thing's available. Boom, let's put it in.
Trauma.
But we gotta fight through this, man. Like there's gotta be a way.
So Macmillan Group says then it is deliberate. And why is it deliberate? Is it the intent to keep us marginalized and on the fringe? I don't think I need to answer that. I think in some areas, I think part of it is, yes, to keep us marginalized. And I think part of it is we're marginalizing ourselves.
Maybe. But if you look at, because I think you've read the book Powernomics, and Powernomics talks about affirmative action that happened in the US. And then affirmative action was created specifically for the Black community. Then it got, again, diluted and changed to minorities. So when minorities started, that can include gay white men, that can include women, that can include white women, people of color. Then it gets so diluted that now the impact it was supposed to have doesn't get done for the Black community. But now that I don't feel like it's us sabotaging ourselves. It's actually the system changing
I think
what they were doing.
I agree, part of system-wise, but we got, as Chuck D said, we got to fight the power. Right? And again,
we have to get more
organized. We got to create our own. That's at the end of the day. You got to create our own. And Angie's saying the media is controlled by they put out what they want us to hear. That's a whole different conversation. But I agree with you that the media, that's a whole lot of that's a whole thing. Especially when it comes to music, that's a whole different.
Yes, but it's very accurate because you look at where do you get your news from, and depending on where you get your news from, who controls that narrative. If it's not us controlling the narrative, we're really passive in getting the information that our subconscious is now downloading and taking as fact. We have to be able to control that supply chain of information.
Something I coined a long time ago: controlling our narrative. If you don't control your narrative, it's going to get controlled for you. Bottom line. Christopher saying, why are we surprised? I'm not anymore. I'm disappointed. I'm not surprised. The Macmillan Group, perhaps the reason is that the federal government is planning to bring in 100,000 tradespeople under an immigration program. Keep your eyes open. There are conversations happening oblivious to us. We'll see. We'll see. Speaking about early on, we were talking about the whole housing thing with the Black North Initiative and Dream Legacy. Getting closer to having the Minister of Housing on one of my platforms. It's getting closer. So there are some Black real estate organizations who I've reached out to provide specific questions to ask the minister. So I'm speaking that when it becomes a reality, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm back and forth on a regular basis with the minister's press secretary. We have questions that are Black lens focused for the minister. So it's not going to be me asking about how I only know a little bit of housing. I have people who do it for the benefit of the Black environment who have provided me questions to ask the minister. So keep an eye on that. Oh, here's the next. Okay. Do you know what's going on with Bades, Ryan?
Yes and no. So the quick recap for those that don't know the BADES program, the BBPA created the BADES program, Business Advisory and Development Services, so to help entrepreneurs get services done for their business. Going into the new year, it was paused as they were working on their internal systems. So initially it was January 17th, it was supposed to open back, and then February 18th. And then on February 18th, the message changed to, I think they ran out of funding. They were looking for another injection of capital. They're probably just waiting for the next fiscal year to get the next tranche of money. So the application is back open. So if you do go to the website,
it is.
Form is open, so you can definitely.
Interesting. I'm glad. Okay, so here's a suggestion. Bates, have better communication.
They were doing better because they started having those Thursday meetings.
So, but the thing is, though, if you didn't tell me, I would have not known about that. And the last message, probably a lot of people would have said, we're not.
It was shut down. That's what.
And so I'm hoping that they have communicated to people who have not received an answer back or have not been communicating in a while that the process has started again.
Yeah, and I only knew because I just keep checking. I was checking each day. Somebody had asked me, I was like, oh, let me see what it says today. And it was, the form was there. So no communication that I know has gone out to anybody that's applied or even the service providers. So hopefully they send that out soon, that people can still sign up. But I don't think they'll be taking any more clients into April. So, okay. But still, if the form is there, definitely get into the queue.
Yeah, take advantage of it, family. Take advantage of it.
And if you've already applied, reach out, follow up, send an email.
Okay, and here's something I want to bring up. So I was in communication about a month ago with an organization that did receive BADES help, was confirmed, etc. So I asked the individual who represents the organization, so have they started yet helping you? No. Did they give a date when they were going to start helping you? No. And he's upset at them. I go, don't be upset at them. You're not pushing them. I said, I tried to basically coach him over the phone and say, look, excuse me, if they're saying they're going to give you a service, ask them when they're going to start delivering the service. Make them accountable. And I'm not picking on BADES here, but people, we got to ask for what we want, but we got to follow up and follow through. Now, this gentleman represents a fairly significant organization in the Greater Toronto area. And I'm going, you've got to follow up with them. Because if you're not taking it seriously, they may not want to take it seriously. So you've got to hold them accountable. This is your organization's goal, dream, and desire.
Yeah, exactly.
So follow up, follow through. If you're not getting the answers, follow up, but hold them and say, when are you going to get this done by? When you get that date, If they don't, and say, okay, well, if I don't hear from you by this certain date, I'm calling you back based on what you told me. I'm not calling to bother you. I'm calling you to be accountable to not only to me, but to your own organization. Enough said. Marlon's got a lot of comments. Marlon's saying here, Canadians amassed record savings and wealth during the pandemic, but for Canadians of color, the gains have been less substantial. This isn't a new issue. For decades, visible minorities have had fewer vehicles with which to build wealth. They are less likely to own financial assets or businesses, and critically, they are less likely to own homes. This should not come as a huge surprise, given that they earn as little as 85 cents per dollar compared to non-visible minority population. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. But not having alternative vehicles of wealth creation is an important point that I saw in there.
Dr. Vibe, I don't think we are marginalizing ourselves. I think we are cheap labor to keep the machinery working in North America. We have to figure out how to learn from the system. Respect your opinion, but I think we're marginalizing our own capabilities. That's what I'm saying. We're thinking small. That's what I'm thinking. We are a great people. We come from great heritage. I think a lot of times we're thinking small when we should be thinking big. That's where I'm saying we're marginalizing our thought process. I think a number, not everybody, there are a number of people who are marginalizing ourselves. As I say, the greatest form of wealth is in the Black family. There's a lot of gifts, talents, etc. in the Black family. But I'm just saying, just my opinion. I respect yours, McMillan Grove. I respect you hugely, but I think we have to. Many of us stop marginalizing our thinking. We got to think bigger than people who are telling us what we are. Just a thought. There is Chris was saying there's power in numbers, point blank. If we don't connect, organize, and take small and actionable steps, and I agree, small and actual steps. More $5 words will be constructed that will take more time in understanding of new words that pull us away from the fashionable lip service. Okay. Marlon, I am glad you signed up. I guess that's him and Christopher going on there. They came back. Yes, they need to be integrity and communicate. We are not begging. We are asking for what they are offering. Okay. So, all right. They did come back. All right.
Right.
Personal opinion from Angie Bades, not professional at all. Dr. Vi, we should not have to push. We almost always expect Black businesses to fail us because the experience is so ridiculous, sad. Okay.
Well, and that's where we can definitely do better. I know when we at ACBN, we opened our microloan program and it wasn't smooth. We had about 150 people apply. We only had funding available to help 10. So now the other 140,
so fun.
Hey, we dropped the ball with making sure we contacted everybody and saying, okay, this is where we're at. And then when we got additional funds, we had to let everybody know again, hey, we got more money. If you already applied, we're going to be revisiting it. If you haven't, please get it in. But it does take bandwidth. And so when you're not resourced, I have more flexibility for you and I'll give you a blind. But when you're getting $5 million to run one program, get it done.
I'm not saying don't get good. Don't get good.
Exactly like Angie said. You shouldn't have
to
push, but we do.
McMillan Group agreed, Dr. Vibe. No problem. I know you said typo, no problem. That's all right. Yeah, I think. Yes, Dr. Vibe, we think so. We think we are not deserving. We need to know we are bigger. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Marlon's saying the comment was that what I put up there was from RBC from this January. So the financial industry knows it, that we're only getting a piece of the pie. A piece of the pie, not even, so it's a really interesting situation that's going on here. Because I think I've been beginning to believe our window of opportunity, aka unfortunately the George Floyd, is fading away. And let us hope and pray the organizations that, especially the ones of the Black ecosystem, they got a lot of pressure on them. Because if they don't do well, bam. It's a big window of opportunity. So we have to really, and I think I've mentioned this to Ryan a lot of times. I think what we really need to do is we all need to get into a big hall. I'm going to lock the doors on you, and you can't come out till you get it to you get something worked out. In the old days, used to call a summit. Well, the summits are we got to really get some stuff down, because again, the reason why I brought up the gas prices, because I know how much of impact that's going to have on many Black Canadians. Right? That is
so
going to be absolutely huge. And again, that's just on top of what's happened with the pandemic, on top of Black mental health care, on top of just being Black, right? Just being Black. It's just gonna get crazy. The potential is being crazier.
Yeah, and Christopher Lawrence hit it too. If we get organized, then we'll start to realize the actual power that we have.
I agree, and I'm going even a step further before that. Let's have conversations.
Right.
Because before you get organized, you got to have those conversations, and you got to realize what are we fighting for? Right? What are we fighting for? Good morning, Dr. Tachi from Florida, who hosts one of the livest online broadcasts in regards to media, tech, and pop culture on every or most Wednesday afternoons, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram Live, and then 6 p.m. Eastern time on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, gospel station in the Bahamas. Oh, she got mass distribution. She got mass.
Love it.
Angie says, very interesting that you said that our window of opportunity, George Floyd, is fading away. So sadly true. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I'm not, as I'd say, a lot of times another way of what I say these days is, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yes.
And then that's why Ryan and I connect the ecosystem across the country. Well, you guys take it over. Just let me be just let me be the media partner. Just let me be the media partner.
But like you said, those conversations amongst the Black residents and also Black organizational leaders, if we can't start there, we can't even talk to each other, we'll never organize. So exactly like you said, those conversations just have to get started, and then we can grow from there.
I love this. Macmillan Group conversations are the most important thing. Where we are not only sharing our wins but our losses, is important that we share those losses so we teach each other how to fight through them. Absolutely. I a few months ago had a conversation with the Macmillan Group, the first one especially, and it was amazing. Like, I came out of that conversation, my heart was full.
Love it. Yes.
And those are the conversations that we need to have. And hey, we may not always agree with each other, but let's respect each other.
100%.
All right. Who's building? The Empire's building at the Knight residence. All right. Okay. So, with Ryan having his tie on, that means he's got meetings. So what's up for Ryan Knight's weekend?
Oh, sorry, there's construction outside.
That's okay. Go ahead.
You're saying what's happening?
Yeah, what's up for the weekend?
The weekend actually is quite clear. A friend of mine, I think of yours, Bernadette from Nova Scotia, is in town.
Yes.
So she's here in Toronto.
For how long?
I think she said about 10 days. So
why don't we get her? Why don't we get her?
She was busy today. I asked her. Yeah,
but this sometime this month.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. I'll ask her what time works for her. But she runs Sankofa Gifts. Sankofa Gifts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would love to get her on. Angie, we're not doing any giveaways today, but I appreciate you got that morning vibe thing going on. We're gonna shelve temporarily the giveaways. They will be back. But if you have won something and you haven't contacted whoever you're supposed to contact, please do that, because they'd like to get you your prize.
Yes.
Please and thank you. So Ryan's having a quiet weekend. Do people actually believe that? Okay,
Yes.
family. Again, thank you
Well,
for.
please let them know about what's happening this weekend again.
Oh yes.
For the
Okay. Yes.
conversation.
I was just gonna make people aware of that. Thank you very much. Because sometimes the world revolves outside of Ryan. So let me just put it up here again. So Sunday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Dr. Vibe Show, the UNDPAD Push Coalition presents Black Mental Health Care, a national conversation. So wherever you're watching this now, well, you know what? No, I don't want. I want to correct that because Ryan won't want me to broadcast on his platforms. You can watch it on the Dr. Vibe Show Facebook page and the YouTube page. So the easiest thing is subscribe to my YouTube and or Facebook page, and you'll get notified. But 5 p.m. Sunday afternoon Eastern time, have a great panel. I'd say combined experience in the healthcare field from a Black lens. You're probably looking at least 60, 70 years of experience because just Leslie McEwen alone has been a Black mental health care professional for 35 years right there. So please check it out. I will be sharing some of the information via my Instagram and Facebook pages, and I'll probably do 1 or 2 video promos for it. And that's it. So this is fantastic. We survived. Love Freestyle Fridays because family, you drive the conversation. So, and I like this hashtag, and I may need to use this: respect, trust, communication. And G, do I have your permission to use that? I like that.
I like that too.
I think there's some legs with that. Respect, trust, communication. Maybe I would maybe flip and say communication or respect, communication, trust. Or something like that. But there's something you got something there, Angie. Dr. Vibe may use that if you give me permission. All right, so let's get it out. Ryan's got his shirt and tie on. So let's, thank you, Ange. I've got your permission. Wonderful. As always, we end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Excuse me. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And as always, too, remember, focus on managing time, but you also got to manage your energy. Managing your energy is so important. So, folks, thank you, Marlon, Macmillan Group, Christopher, Angie. Thank you for driving the conversation. Dr. Tachi, thank you for driving the conversation. If you have any questions or comments, you know how to reach us. If you don't, easiest thing, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. By the way, one last thing, Ryan, who do we have coming up on Monday?
So Dunia from African Civic Society Association in Alberta. So in Edmonton, Alberta, is going to be joining us. She's part of her and her organization is part of the ecosystem, the federal entrepreneurship ecosystem. So looking forward to learn more about her history, what she's been working on, and what the organization is up to.
Wonderful. All right, folks, we gone. Keep safe, keep the faith, and remember to give yourselves grace. We'll see you Monday morning, and walk good.